Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Fan Appreciation Month here on Reaction and Review. Yes, guys, I am once more doing another month made entirely out of movies sent in by you guys by way of the Amazon wish list. And we're kicking things off with a Japanese film from 1989 that has been requested numerous times by a lot of you guys. That movie is Tetsuo the Iron Man. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know a thing about this movie. I haven't even read what the hell is on the back of this thing. I don't know what the fuck I'm getting into. The only things I've been able to piece, together based off of messages which have been sent into me and comments which have been left on a few other videos. Essentially, Tetsuo the Iron Man is the Japanese version of Eraserhead, only according to some people, it actually is somewhat, coherent, which, frankly, if it is even halfway coherent, it's already infinitely better than the mindless bullshit that was Eraserhead. But I don't really know if any of those comments are true, and the only way for me to find out, and also the only way for me to find out if the fucker's going to be any good or not, is if I shut up and I push play, and I'm going to do that right now. So, without further ado, it's time to kick back, relax, and check out Tetsuo the Iron Man. Okay, that's good and kind of sick. I never thought I'd... Okay, I did not really expect this movie to start off with some guy going and cutting a massive gash in his leg and then jamming a fucking, rod in there. A rather almost fucking, rusty looking rod. At least looked kind of rusty with the whole, black and white film here. Looked really, really nasty, but still, it was an interesting way to open up the film. I am gonna say that. Guys, I really wish I could even attempt to explain what the fuck is going on in this movie, but I can't. To be completely honest with you, I'm really fucking lost right now, and the only thing I can say is that a lot of these visuals are, well, kind of stupid, and other ones are, a little bit creepy. That's really about all I can tell you right now. Okay. Now his dick's a giant drill, I guess? The fuck is going on in this goddamn movie? I mean, I really, guys, would love just at least a small explanation for at least half of the bullshit going on in this movie, but I guess I can talk about that a little bit more when the movie's done. Just, wow, that was fucking weird. Okay, well, the good news is, at least the film's starting to make a little bit of sense. I think. I'm not totally sure, guys. I'm really not certain if the shit I'm seeing is making any sense at all. It is certainly bizarre and strange and really fucked in the head. That's really about all I can guarantee right now. Okay, so apparently the only way to stop a robot man who is completely out of friggin' control is if a hobo beats him senseless with a friggin' iron rod. Okay, it makes no fucking sense at all, but it is sort of interesting, so I'm going to at least grant them that. Wow, well, guys, that was Tetsuo the Iron Man, and I think my brain just died a little bit. Let me shut that off. Wow, how the fuck do I even attempt to review this? Okay, oh boy. Writing. Why not? I always start with writing anyway. Let's just try to hammer out writing. The story here is a little bit different. I will say that when I was getting all those messages and all those comments from people who were telling me that essentially Tetsuo here is essentially Eraserhead, only, coherent, they certainly hit that nail right on the head. This thing is definitely a mindfuck, messed up, screwy as shit movie. But the story is, for the most part, coherent, and I think it's just because of how the story is told. You basically are given a whole lot of bizarro, fucked up imagery, and then there's a brief attempt, either through dream sequences or dialogue. They attempt to explain what the fuck you just saw in those previous few minutes, and you begin to sort of piece everything together, and then the movie veers directly down batshit boulevard again, and you're treated to even more mind fuck, and then once more they kind of stop for a sec, and they just kind of sort of let you get a fucking breath as they try to, as once more you're sort of given a chance to kind of piece everything together, and then it rockets right back down batshit boulevard once more. That basically is sort of the pacing here, and it definitely works because at least you know that there is an attempt to tell a coherent story in one of the most bizarre ways possible. And I am going to grant them points for coming up with a rather creative way of telling a very bizarre story. So, fuck, I really can't even fault them on writing. Especially since the positive here is also that the film is short, so you have this very, very bizarre story, and it's all kind of compressed down to just over an hour. So they were really able to cram a ton into a very short amount of time, and it works. Acting, well, I'm going to tell you right now, there is very, very little acting in this film. When it comes to dialogue, there's maybe, and I am not even joking, there's maybe about 20 lines of dialogue in this entire film. Well, I'm probably kind of under, shooting that slightly, but there's very, very little dialogue. Almost everything is explained through fantasy sequences and dream sequences and all this other bizarre and weird shit, and you really have to try to piece everything together by way of what is seen. And you're probably not going to get all of it on the first viewing. I can guarantee you I did not get everything on the first fucking viewing. I probably won't even get everything on the third viewing. It'll probably take about 4 or 5 viewings before you fully know what the fuck is going on and be able to follow this story in the most coherent way you possibly can. However, though, it actually is kind of interesting enough to warrant you wanting to go back and watch it a second time or a third time and try to figure out what the fuck you missed the previous time through. So again, guys, the writing helps there, and what little acting here is done rather well. So also acting works out here. Special effects. Besides the costume work, where our main character, as he slowly turns into this metallic robotic freak, he kind of sort of looks like an ultra low budget Borg from Star Trek the next generation, and I am enough of a Star Trek fan to essentially grant this thing marks just off the fact that it reminded me of the fucking Borg, so that's sort of cool. Otherwise, we have a ton of stop motion in here. Stop motion done both, with props, such as, like tinfoil, wires, rope, garbage, and all of that when it's done. For whatever reason, it kind of sort of reminded me of those old music videos from fucking Tool. And Tool was a mid-90s industrial metal, band, and their fucking music videos, they all had this very creepy-ass, stop motion look. And we're kind of picking up that here, and it works. Now the other kind of stop motion which they do involves the actors, where you'll see an actor usually, in full costume, and you'll see them moving quickly down the street. Except they basically will, except they're frozen in the same pose, and they're just being moved like 5 feet down, 5 feet down, and they'll like snap a frame, snap a frame, snap a frame, and it looks really interesting. It is certainly a cool way of kind of showing off a way of doing like a way of doing some form of stop motion with human actors as opposed to props. They also have bits where the actors are moving by way of stop motion as opposed to actual movement, and it looks really, really jerky and kind of weird because that's kind of sort of the hallmark of, stop motion, and it works, and it looks really cool, and it certainly helps the whole creepy feel of the entire film. So in terms of special effects and costume work and makeup effects and blood effects, everything here works, and it works incredibly well. So yeah, I am able to grant it there. The soundtrack, well, it's kind of funny that I mentioned Tool earlier, because the soundtrack here, it all sounds very, very, it sounds it sounds a lot like some of those sorts of industrial bands, Tool and Nine Inch Nails and shit like that, if they were born out of the late 80s, because it's kind of sort of got that like 80s spin on, of all things, industrial metal, and it kind of works. It certainly works in its own like messed up way, and when it's not dipping into this proto fucking industrial stuff, it's got what I can best describe as almost a fucking like smooth, like it almost sounds like a smooth jazz kind of thing, and it kind of works. It kind of works in the scenes which it's being used in. So I can also tell you guys that the fucking soundtrack here is great. And I kind of sort of wish that I could, get the soundtrack. And the DVD here, it actually does have a soundtrack with it, except it's not the movie soundtrack. It's music inspired by. So it's basically a bunch of, so basically it's just a bunch of dickheads who made music that they basically wrote based on the movie, which I've never been a fan of that kind of horse shit, because I would rather just have the soundtrack, especially after watching the movie. Camera work here is really good. Again though, a lot of that sort of ties into the whole, like stop motion thing. But they also have a lot of stuff which is done with handheld, which is done with video, which is done by filming televisions, and it is all done again for this very, very, like stylistic look, and it kind of works. Granted, there are a ton of shots when they are using a handheld camera that look just absolutely fucking terrible, but that was probably by, design, so I can't really fault them too much there. Lighting here is great, but then again, a lot of it looks to be outdoors, or it is using whatever kind of light sources were there when they were filming, So once more, it all kind of sets that perfect, atmosphere for this film. So when all is said and done, guys, am I able to recommend Tetsuo the Iron Man? Kinda. I really do have to say, if you are looking for just an absolutely bizarre movie which you can kind of follow, then yes, certainly you are going to want to find this. And the biggest plus side is that it's just over an hour long. I mean, you honestly are not going to be wasting a ton of time, and this thing here, it is nice, it's short, it actually is okay. I do know that there are 2 sequels to this thing, but I don't really know if I want to watch those, because the ending to this thing almost fucking made my brain melt, and I don't really want to know what the fuck they could do to... I really don't want to know what in the hell the sequels will do with a... Well, again, I really don't want to spoil the ending. Just, if you watch the ending, then I want you to try to explain to me how in the fuck you sequelize that. Anyway... I honestly kind of thought it was pretty good. I mean, it was certainly fucked up. It was certainly weird. However, though, unlike other fucking mind-fuck movies I've covered in this series, it actually does have a somewhat, coherent story, and that certainly is more than we got from bullshit like fucking Eraserhead. So, I can certainly say that this thing is at least superior there. Now, Tetsuo... came off of the Amazon wish list. The person who sent it in is a YouTuber by the name of Captain Tuner. You can find his YouTube channel at youtube.com/user/Captain Tuner. And dude, thank you. I was really kind of curious about this one after getting tons and tons of requests from people. It kind of sort of piqued, my, interest. I had no idea if this thing was going to be even watchable. I kind of started off doubting it, and it kind of sort of won me over with its ridiculously fucked up and bizarre ending. But once more, the ending also makes me not really want to watch the sequel. So basically, it's kind of sort of a mixed blessing. The ending is awesome, but how the fuck do you sequelize it? I might check out the sequels later. I don't know. And yes, guys, please by all means swing on over and check out his YouTube channel. And if you like what you see, sub him. Wow, we're kicking off Fan Appreciation Month with something that was shockingly entertaining. I really did not know that this thing was going to be that surprisingly good. Well, anyway, guys, with that, we come to the close of another reaction and review. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care, and I will see you all in the near future. Peace.